Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome to the shop. What I'm going to cover here is the Bora NGX saw plate and whether or not you can use it on the WTX saw guide. Well, right here is the WTX. Whoop, and I already had this. So, can you use this with the NGX saw plate? Bora says no. Well, let's find out. I already had this. And I did look at the WTX saw plate, the amount you saw on, and I wasn't impressed. I pretty much thought it was just a piece of crap. My opinion, yours may differ. So I went on and bought the NGX saw plate. It's a lot sturdier made. I haven't even opened this yet. Well, this is what we're going to cover on whether or not you can use the NGX plate with the WTX track if you already have the WTX track. I don't have both sections together, but I've got like $100 invested in this track to make it 8 foot. What I've done in the past for my 4 foot cut down to sheet goods, and that's what you see sitting here. And I've got this saw is pretty much dedicated to this particular jig. What I do is I make my marks on the sheet on each side, and I clamp this on this side over here. I clamp this down so that the marks line up with this, and this saw tracks right along this runner on here, and I can make perfect straight cuts. And I've always used that for 4 foot, but building something like this for an 8 foot is well, it's hard to find a place to keep the damn thing. So with the Bora track, it comes in 4 foot pieces, and you can just the other piece just clips in here. You can join them together for doing 8 foot. What I'd have to do there is mark out the difference, and I don't recall exactly how much the offset was on this. I'll measure it real quick. 6 inches. So I would have to measure 6 inches over. That's a metric scale on both sides. A little confusing here. Anyway, 6 inches over. I have to make my marks and offset, and then run my saw along this. So what I decided to do was to actually get the saw track for it and to dedicate a saw just for that plate. And for that, since I use this for construction all the time, maybe you saw an earlier video where I got this really cheap pawn shop saw, which is virtually brand new. And that's the one that I'm going to dedicate to this plate. Get this thing unpackaged, get my table cleaned off here, and we'll find out if it fits on that track or not. Okay, got this thing out of the package, and one of them things you got to open with scissors. I always wonder how many people end up going to the emergency room every year with cuts from opening one of these damn plastic packages. I guess that's why Amazon came up with their frustration-free packaging thing. Anyway, I digress. There's this non-chip strip, which is supposed to be applied to the back side of the track in a recess. The WTX does not have that recess, so therefore you can't use this. However, flip this back over. My big question was whether this would fit on the track, and it does. It fits perfect, it's snug, there's no wobble. So what I'm going to do is take my pawn shop saw here and get it mounted to this, and of course I'm going to have to come up with an even amount of offset because obviously I can't cut right next to the track because I'll be nicking the track up. I'll probably set it up for a 1-inch offset, but I'll kind of get things going here, and we'll see how easy this is. Looks like it should be pretty simple and straightforward. First thing I'm going to do is raise this blade up. These little clamps just lift up out of the way. Now we're going to have to try to figure out how I'm going to align this thing here. I am going to have to move this bracket this way to get my measurement where I want it. It would appear, though, of course I haven't done the final adjustment yet, I'll do that here in a minute. There are slots in the top of these to how hard that clamps down. I probably don't want to clamp there, I probably want to clamp back here farther. I will get my Allen wrenches out and move this, and then once I get this set up, we'll do a little test on it. Okay, I've got the saw set up on the plate. You'll need a 3mm Allen wrench. It does not come with one to adjust your guide along the side. Got to be a little bit frustrating getting the exact measurement out here. I wanted a 1-inch offset, and I do have that now. And there are some marks here on the base plate. However, my 1-inch offset did not end up right on one of the marks. It's obviously going to depend on the saw you have. Adjusting these is pretty straightforward. You want to turn these little screws in a little bit so you get a good hard catch on there. So what I've done here with this is actually the other side of my cutoff board that I used to use, or I still use. So I've got it set for a 1/2-inch cutoff. So I marked my board out to 1.5 inches. Reach in, lock this down. I'll need to lower my blade, obviously. I want to make sure I don't lower it too far and go into my table. So we'll give this a try. Oh, incidentally, there's a pointer here on the end. Because of my 1-inch offset, the pointer didn't exactly extend out far enough. That's if you're going to try to follow a line you have drawn. It's reversible. You can take it out and flip it over, and if you don't like the way it looks, take the one off the other side. If you happen to have a left-handed saw, this plate right here, this bracket, will mount on the other end, and then it'll turn around and when your blade's the other direction. So there it is. Okay, so some thoughts on this, and incidentally I had the laser on this, I don't know if you can see the laser or not, and it did follow my line perfectly. 1.5 inch cutoff, I got a 1/2 inch cutoff, and I have a 1-inch offset from here to the inside of the cut edge. Even though Bora says you cannot use the NGX saw plate with the WTX track, well, you can. I just proved it. Of course, you can't use the guide tape. What this is for is if you had the NGX track, there's a recess in it, and you would apply this to that recess, then you would set up your saw there'd be a piece sticking out, and you would cut, and you would have a reference line. Make it a little bit handier if you just make let's say you're going to cut a sheet in half. So you make your mark at 48 inches, line your guide bar up, put the edge of this right at that 48-inch mark and go. The only difference you would have to do here, and of course you had to do it with the WTX saw plate, you had to allow for an offset. I made the offset a 1-inch thing because it's easy to remember, and I'm going to keep this saw on this plate and dedicate it just for this use, and that way when I'm cutting my 8-foot sheets and have these two pieces together, it'll be simple, just grab and go. And I'll probably start using it for my 4-foot sheets now as well, since I have this saw plate, and I won't need this heavy old cutoff guide I had before. But on the plus side is this old heavy guide didn't cost me anything to make it. It was just made out of scraps. The other thing I'm going to do is definitely change the blade on this Craftsman pawn shop saw here, because it's like a 24 tooth blade. Most of the stuff I will be cutting with this are sheet goods, so I'm going to put a 60 or 80 tooth in there so I don't get such a bad chip out and tear out. Otherwise, the answer is yes, you can use the NGX saw plate on the WTX track. There's no doubt about it. You just can't use the chip guide or the non-chip clip or whatever they. Makes me hungry for potato chips. Now I may have to go have a snack. Anyway, okay, so why use one of these instead of a track saw? Well, I actually don't want to drop the coin to buy a track saw. I do cut sheet goods on occasion, but I don't want to invest in the cost and expense of a track saw. When I say I don't want to drop the coin for it, it's because my wife doesn't let me have folding money. No, not really, but I just love telling people that. You guys out there, you can have a little fun with that too. If somebody's wanting to sell you something or wanting some money or something, just tell them your wife doesn't let you have folding money. And usually you get an odd look, but it's always good for a chuckle. At any rate, little interjection there on why I'm using one of these instead of a track saw. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, appreciate giving it a thumbs up. Of course, we're always looking for subscribers. And if you hit that little bell on the lower right hand corner of the video, you'll be notified when we post another one. Otherwise, until the next video, thanks for watching.